Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please subscribe and keep watching for more detailed videos. Imagine you are in the middle of a normal day, with children to shuttle, errands to run, lunch to pick up, routines that feel like they anchor you, and then a phone call unravels the ordinary. That is exactly where Crystal found herself. She was shuttling her kids to activities, trying to manage the swirl of life, and at that moment, she answered a phone call from her doctor. The call felt disjointed, abrupt, almost careless. The doctor said, "What's up?" as though placing a casual check-in, and Crystal answered, "You called me." The response that followed pierced everything. "It's bad." Then came the words she never expected to hear. "You have cancer." She asked the doctor to pause, to let her process, to call back in 20 minutes so she could rehash this, because she could not absorb it then. Her son was running around a restaurant. The noise and life around her blurred while she stood in that moment, balancing shock and disbelief. She later discovered that her doctor had assumed someone else had called, an error, a mix-up, but the damage was already done. The words had landed. She drove home trying not to cry in front of her children, fighting to hold composure. Her daughter sensed immediately that something was off. Crystal later wrote, "They always know." But let's rewind slightly, because the lead-up to that phone call was itself marked by uncertainty and disquiet. In February of 2025, she noticed a large mass in her right breast during a routine morning moment of getting ready. Her intuition became unsettled. What followed were scans, a mammogram and guided ultrasound, that at first yielded nothing conclusive. The doctors called it a mystery. "The breast is just one of those things," they casually said. "It's a mystery." But the mass didn't go away. Over the following months, it stayed and even changed in size and placement. Her nipple became inverted. The lump grew. Not only did the mass become more obvious, but her internal anxiety deepened. She knew something was wrong. When she returned to her doctor, the mass now measured 10 centimeters. The shift from casual dismissal to urgent suspicion happened swiftly. A blind biopsy was ordered. Then she got the call from her GP. Invasive carcinoma in one of the ducts. She remembers curling into a ball, sobbing, trying to make sense of words she never thought would apply to her. "I don't have cancer," she told herself. How could this be real? Yet deep down a whisper said, "What if?" In her essay, she says she was under the impression at first that she had stage 2 cancer and just wanted it gone, cut it out right away. But after more tests, she learned the truth. She was facing stage 3 invasive ductal carcinoma. That revelation came on a rainy late August day. Another ordinary day turned extraordinary. The weight of what was ahead did not escape her. Chemotherapy, radiation, a double mastectomy, reconstruction. It all loomed large. For someone who had never faced a major illness, it was a lot to digest. When she told her Hallmark colleagues, when she told those she loved, fear whispered, "Will I be forgotten? Will I still have a career?" But she says she was embraced. Hallmark, her producers, her friends and family rallied. Her voice quivers when she describes making that call to Annie Howell at Hallmark, terrified. Would they still want her? Would she still be able to work? The answer was an outpouring of support. She writes that everyone told her, "We have your back." Let me step into the moment just before her first chemo infusion, the moment she walked into the clinic. She tucked her knees under an oversized sweater in the waiting room, wanting to disappear. The nurse called her name. Her heart raced. She saw the dreaded bell ring at the end of chemo, a symbol she longed for. She saw the vial of the Red Devil, doxorubicin, the chemotherapy drug often called by that nickname. She is terrified. She pleads, "Wait. You can't put that in me yet." She needs a moment. She needs agency. She needs a narrative. In that torrent of fear and emotion, she reaches for an anchor, a hero image. She remembers her mother and aunts, all fiery redheads, fierce in their own right. She decides to anthropomorphize the chemo as a warrior. She names her chemo Agnes MacDonald. She names her cancer Barry. In her mind, Agnes is the warrior with sword raised, ready to battle Barry. She asks her husband to find an image of a Scottish warrior with red hair and a massive sword. Then she plays the Braveheart soundtrack. Yes, she says she was dramatic. But that moment, she says, was the first time since diagnosis she felt strong. Agnes and Crystal were ready. That imaginative act becomes a turning point. She tells herself, first shrink the tumor to make surgical removal more feasible. Second, adopt a supportive nutritional plan, seek complementary therapies working alongside oncologists. Third, realize that mental attitude is not optional, it is fundamental. Through this, she is honest. This journey has stripped her down, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Her body will change. Her mind will stretch. Her heart will ache. She says she will promise to persevere. She will turn poison into medicine. She will grow. Even in her grief, she speaks of gratitude. She speaks of love. Her husband, her children, her friends, her tribe surround her. They cook. They visit. They clean. They wait tables. They lift. Hollywood, often maligned, showed up. Producers rearranged shoots. Hallmark shifted schedules. Wigs were purchased. Transportation offered to endless appointments. She says she's never felt more grateful to belong to a community that truly practiced care. She writes to those walking a hard road, "You are not alone. You may not choose what happens to you, but you can choose how you meet it." She raises her sword with an open heart, one step at a time. Let's return to that moment of that phone call, when the world cracked open. Picture it, she's trying to balance motherhood, life, the noise, the obligations, when a doctor says it's bad and then you have cancer. In that space, time stretches. The world halts. There is no protocol for hearing that. There was no gentle build. That abruptness, that intrusion, was part of what she calls insane. That phone call was a crucible. She asked for 20 minutes. She needed to gather herself. In those minutes, she may have thought about her children, her legacy, the unfairness, the what-ifs. She may have faltered. But when she called back, she stepped into battle posture. The shock did not stop, but she began to harness it. She harnessed anger, love, fear, determination, and she channeled it. Naming chemo Agnes, naming cancer Barry, they were not whimsical choices. They were acts of reclaiming power. The language matters. The narrative matters. In that story, she is not passive, but a warrior, moving forward. She admits there are days when she falls apart. When she questions why. When grief floods. When fatigue clouds. But she also points out that there are moments of laughter, connection, tenderness, and fierce resolve. When her young son donned his Spider-Man costume and burst into the bedroom, posing and making web sounds, she couldn't help but laugh. That laughter in the midst of darkness. She calls it medicine. She also speaks of advice she's already gathered. From others, survivors, strangers online. Ask for ice chips at chemo. Ask for saline bags. Ask for practical support. She leans into community. She leans into empathy. She leans into vulnerability. So when you hear that phrase, insane moment, what does it mean? It means shock, disbelief, chaos scratching at the edges of self, unexpected fracture. But it also means the birth of a new narrative, the moment when life's fragility forces us to wake, to choose, to fight with clarity. For Crystal Lowe, that call was not just a herald of tragedy, but a threshold. She chose to walk through it, not stoic, not untouched, but real, trembling, fierce. In closing, know this, she is not defined by that phone call. It happened to her. But she is defining how she responds. She is naming her warriors. She is claiming her story. And she is inviting us all to witness, to support, to remember our bodies, our health, our voices. May this story remind us to listen to our instincts, to advocate for ourselves, to pursue second opinions, to treat our bodies with attention and respect. May it remind us that behind the shock and the pain, there can emerge courage we never knew we had. In that insane moment, the moment the words landed, Crystal Lowe took the first step of a journey no one wants, but one that is already teaching her, molding her, and maybe even restoring her. Come back to our channel for all your updates. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel.